and welcome to Access Sportsnet. Lakers brought to you by your Toyota dealers. We make it easy. Chris McGee, Danny Green, Big Game James Worthy. We got Mike Trudell out at the arena. The Lakers with a huge win in Houston, putting them at third in the West. They've now won 6 in a row, 9 out of 10. In the last 8 days, they beat the Knicks, the T-Wolves, the Nuggets, and now the Rockets. A late 15-2 run to win it. But I got to start with the defense, Big Game James. They held Kevin Durant scoreless until the final 30 seconds of the second half. He only had 2 points in the second half. They forced 24 Rocket turnovers with that trap that the Houston Rockets could not solve. 92 total points for Houston. Yeah. That is a gutsy, I don't care if it's ugly, it is a big win.
Lakers had 14 steals too, so they were active tonight. You know, I think the defensive strategy worked to kind of get the ball out of Durant's hand and force it into someone else's hands down the stretch in the fourth quarter. I think that was the key, and then they were able to rebound the basketball. For a while, Houston was getting just about second opportunities every shot they had. In the third quarter, it was just demoralizing. But I think once they solved that and put pressure on other players to perform, I think that was the key. Durant was the savior, and no one else could knock it down because of that tenacious defense, causing turnovers. They got quite a few steals for easy buckets. So, yeah, defense wins.
Yeah, I mean, Houston just looked out of sorts all around. This is kind of, I guess, what you see when you're missing a point guard and your other point center in Sengun. But on both sides, it was ugly. Offensively, there was a lot of missed shots, not a lot of some good ball movement, some good looks. Just couldn't find the rim. There was a lid on both sides. Turnovers on Houston's side. You know, Lakers did a great job of trapping. Sometimes a little too passive in their traps, but they forced KD to make some decisions. He turned it over a couple times, and they just stuck with it. This was a game of wills. Who was going to do the dirty work? And it ended up being the Lakers and DeAndre Ayton. You know, getting some offensive rebounds, getting in the paint, because you know when.
They were able to stop the Rockets from hitting enough to keep it close, and then Luka came back in the game. You know, as you mentioned, Ayton started getting some little donuts inside, and then they prevailed. Luka hit a big shot, and then Marcus, we talked about Marcus. You know, he might not be hitting a big percentage, but he's not afraid to take the shot. So, you know, they prevailed, and the defense is getting better each game that they go out. Started with New York, and it's gotten better each game. If they continue this way, that'll hold them up when they're not shooting the ball as well.
I know Luka played 40 minutes, but it looked like, or it seemed like he was out the game for a long time. But when he finally came back in, he got the one little post bucket that kind of got things going and, you know, kept them settled. But, yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to those other guys. You know, Jake LaRavia was great on the board tonight, getting steals and doing little things. Marcus Smart, same. You know, second, you know, blue-collar plays, secondary actions. DeAndre Ayton down the stretch. You know, so those guys were huge in this win. This is a gutsy win. And to continue to not only win games in this 10-game span, but against teams above 500 that you mentioned, like the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Knicks, the Denver Nuggets, and now the Houston Rockets, they got to play them again. You better believe they're going to come back with a little more edge. So what do you do now? I feel like a lot of character shows in the second game. We'll see who the Lakers really are and what they're made of.
I loved what you said to me right before we went on air. You said, you know, you go there for a split, but now get greedy and get both.
Yeah, I mean,
that's got to be the mindset.
Treat it like a playoff series. You know, you don't go in to steal, you go in to take two.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to talk Luka because it was funny. We were all saying, man, can we get him back in the game? Because the Lakers were looking to scratch, and it is so nice to have a guy like that down the stretch. Look at this, most 30-point games in Lakers history. Big Game, you had a few more seasons than Luka, but you did it 52 times, and I know you are happy to share it with Luka at this moment until he breaks it probably 2 days from now. But Luka, 52 and climbing. Lakers history. James, he was there for, I don't know what, 20-something games last year. And then just
season
this
and a half.
season. And he's already got 52. That's pretty amazing, right? Still great to see your name on there.
I'm shocked. I didn't know I was on there. I'm like, whoa. I made the list. Nah, man, but Luka, man, he can get that in his sleep.
If you guys could have seen James looking at that list, like, really? I'm on that list.
I had no idea. I get too many 34 games with Magic and Kareem. But, yeah, Luka, man, he can get He can get 30 whenever he wants in the first quarter if he wants to. But I just like the way he's enhancing the whole team, though, Geeter, as he's, scoring big numbers. Danny, he's just hard to stop, man.
Yeah, that first quarter looked like he was definitely going for 40. First half, he had 23 at the half. So it kind of slowed down because he didn't play as much in that fourth. But he's been doing this all season long. And probably would have more assists if they would have made more shots. But, he did the little things that he needed to get done. And down the stretch, made big plays, especially with, getting closer to the basket and getting an easy one first. So, yeah, Luka does what he's supposed to do. Again, we just got to see what the other guys can step up and do. Hopefully have bounce-back games next game around and step up.
So I just want to clarify something. Luka's got, that's as a Laker.
That's as a Laker. It took you a minute.
I was waiting
for you.
It took me 14 years. He's got his in a year and a half.
Isn't that wild?
He's going to catch Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis
shoot the three.
He's here for like 4 years.
I mean, he's, listen, we've run out of ways to describe him. The attitude, savant, the brilliance. We talked about it at halftime, too. I mean, just the way he opens that game with 16. He's got 23 at the half. And just listen, when you need a bucket at the end of the game, we saw it in Denver, and we saw it right here when they needed that one, and he's in the corner. He gets in there into the little jump hook. I mean, it's who he is. It's who he is. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, time and time again. You're going to need that in the playoffs.
Going to need it. Time to hear from Coach J.J. Redick, brought to you by your Toyota dealers.
JJ, you kind of hinted at this pregame. It might be a little bit of a slugfest. How did you feel like you were able to prevail ultimately in that?
They're a really good basketball team, and they make you either play hard and match their physicality and how they muck the game up, or you can lay down. And we didn't lay down tonight. We had a deficit there in the third quarter. Our guys just kept playing. I thought defensively in the second half, with some of the adjustments we made at halftime, we just executed really, really well, particularly with, just trying to get the ball out of Durant's hands. Forced 9 turnovers in the fourth quarter doing that, and just a terrific defensive second half for us. There's not, when they're playing that 5-man lineup, minus Shepherd big, it's hard to they got 5 really good defenders out there. It's really hard to generate good offense. I thought we made the right play consistently. Didn't shoot it well. Had a stretch there where we had some wide open threes with some bad misses. But that's, it carry over from this morning, carry over from pregame. We got to have a playoff mentality this time of year, and I thought our guys did that, and they executed it really well.
I think it was 15 second half turnovers. You mentioned the adjustment. Was it blitzing more on Durant, and what's kind of the key to that and behind it to making sure that?
No, we took off. We blitzed them a little bit in the first half. We took off the blitz at halftime. We just went to our 15, and we went to 1 through 5 red, and then we fired them. So they did a good job of rotating out of that, consistently. Whether we didn't really fire a lot last year, and we did it in Game 5 against Minnesota. We gave up a ton of offensive rebounds because of that. That's the worry when you play zone. That's the worry when you put 2 on the ball and you're in scramble mode. It's a little bit harder to rebound some of those misses. But we stuck with it.
You guys have 2, generally speaking, big time advantages night in, night out offensively. You have Luka and his shot making, but you also have LeBron in transition on a night when
There they are too.
Not tonight.
Yeah. Not from 3.
But on the nights when you do the other stuff isn't going, just that reliability in those 2 things, how do they carry you guys?
Look, the very first thing that we did in training camp both years, and we put way more emphasis on it this year, but the very first thing we did in training camp was establish our running patterns. And talking about ending every possession with a contest, and then here's your running patterns. LeBron does such a good job of filling the middle of the floor. We emphasize running to the corners. We emphasize our throw-aheads. We've been really good in transition. I know we're not a high-volume transition team, but we've been really good in transition when we've thrown the ball ahead, and the numbers back that up. The winning backs it up, and LeBron in particular. It's one of the things we talked about last week is just continue to be the best transition player in the NBA, and it's such a dynamic force for our offense.
Little shot, Austin, but he was on Durant to start possessions.
Yeah.
He had that inbounds steal where you just kind of
4 of them.
yeah,
In a block shot.
Yeah. Just kind
And
of
5 assists. Like, he's a basketball player, and again, for the second straight game, going against a tier 1 all-time player as the primary and getting switched on to guys and just battling and making it tough. Competitive will, and I think LeBron too. I mean, I told him mid-game, and I don't even know. He ended up taking 13 shots. I think he probably had 7 at the time. It was sometime in the second half, but I said, I see you. I see you. You're playing hard and that matters. Like you're lifting our team up because of how hard you're playing. Whether that's trying to take a charge, coming back and back tapping things, his physicality defensively, being in rotations, like all this stuff. And the offense came for him. It came for him.
Go ahead, Dan. Thanks. Go ahead, Dan.
Save all the questions.
DeAndre wasn't really a factor, and then they had that flurry of rebounds. We went back to him late. What is his response? Show you? What did you make of it? What did you tell him after the game?
We had a decision to make about who the 5th guy was going to be in that timeout, and we all recognized that he had not played in a significant portion of the game, and then you factor in the real-time effect of that. And I was pretty adamant that I wanted him in the game. We went, Greg went over to him and made sure that he was ready to go. He was ready to go, and then he helped us win the game, and that's what I told him. We walked off the court together, and he was in good spirits, but he did. His offensive rebounding and the couple of buckets he got there down the stretch were huge.
Good stuff.